Hello dear student, welcome to another lecture in programming in C++. This is my fourth lecture in C++. In this video, we will be learning a most important portion from this chapter programming in C++, that are control statements. There are mainly three types of control statements. In this video, we will learn about conditional expressions such as if or if-else or switch. We will learn about loop statements while, do while, for, and also about jump statements, break, continue, and go to. There are mainly three types of control statements. Control statements are mainly used in a C++ program so that we can pass the control of the C++ program in such a way that it will yield a good result. Mainly, C++ program execute all its all its statements in a series manner, in a straightforward manner, in a linear manner. But in some cases, if we need a set of instructions to be executed in a fashion in many iterations or many times, or if you want the C++ program to take a logic decision or to break some line and jump to some other line without working in a linear fashion, then we use control statements. There are mainly three types of control statements. There are conditional statements. Conditional statements will run only if the condition is true. That is, a set of instructions will run only if the condition is true. If the condition is false, all those set which is inside that statement will be ignored. Loop statements. Loop statements are mainly used if you need a set of instructions to be executed a number of times. That is, when you need some expression, some set of instructions to be executed in a number of iterations, then you will use the loop statements. Breaking control statements are used when you need the program to stop running at a certain statement or to jump to another statement while ignoring all the other statements in between. Then you will use breaking control statements. We will look into many of these in the coming. The first is if statement. Now we will learn about conditional statements. The first conditional statement we have to learn is if statement. If statement executes whenever the condition is true. Whenever the condition which is written inside the if statement is true, then the set of instructions that is written inside the if statement will run. If the condition is false, the statements which follow the if statement will be ignored and the program continues right after the selected statements, the selected segment of statements. The syntax of referring if is if inside the parenthesis you will give the statement and inside the curly braces you will state or the statements or the control set of instructions will be given. If the statements inside the parenthesis seems to be true while executing, then all the set of statements or instructions given inside the curly braces will be executed. If not, those are rejected and the control of the compiler will go right to the program, right to the section which comes after the if statement. Let's look into one example of how to use an if statement. In this hash include IOStream, you already know it is a preprocessor directive. You know about naming, using namespace standard, and also about main. Here we use main, and inside the curly braces, inside the main section, we declare the variables a and b without initialization. Then it gives you a cout, enter the numbers a and b such that it can find which one is greater. And in this line, a and b is taken into, or the typed numbers are saved into the variables a and b respectively. If statement or the if loop come right here, this is the if conditional statement. If a is greater than b, cout a greater, a is greater. See, if the numbers we entered was first number was greater than the second number, then only this statement will execute. In the other case, this statement will not execute. Let's try doing this. Inside I have given int main. It's okay. Then we have to give a return value. I declare my variables a and b without initialization so that I can suggest what my a and b should be. I can choose it. Now cout so that I can collect information. Enter the numbers. And cin, I extract using an extraction operator. Cin a b. The first number I enter will be saved to a and the second number I enter will be saved to b. Now I come to if statement. Inside the parenthesis, a greater than b. You have learned about operators in the previous video. So greater than symbol is a relational operator. Hope you remember. So inside the if statement, you have to open a bracket so that all the things which come inside this bracket will depend completely on the true or false of this statement. If this is true, then you have to cout the greater number is now we will jump out of the statement and give a return value because I have given int main here. You can also use main so that you didn't need to give a return value. Return 0. Let's try compiling this program. There are no errors. It's ready to run. And I give a number 5 and 3. And the greater number is 5. You will be more clear with this idea when I discuss one more conditional statement. We will look into that. What is the next conditional statement? The next conditional statement if else. That is, if the condition inside the if statement is right, then the set of instructions which come inside the curly parenthesis which follows the if statement will be executed. If not, those statements will be rejected. And in the statement which follows will be else statement, and the else statement will be executed. If the condition inside the if statement is right, then the instruction of if will be executed. If condition is wrong, then the instruction of the else statement will be executed. If else statement operates on either or on the basis. One statement is executed if the condition is true, another is executed if the condition is false. The syntax is same as giving if a statement, just the variation is that you have to suggest what to do if the condition inside is false. In the previous case, we have just said what to do if the condition is true. Now we are seeing this compiler, what to do if the condition is true and what to do if the condition seems to be false. And you can loop a lot of if and else statements such as if else, and all the syntax will be the same. Let's try doing an example in the same manner. Now we already have an if statement. That is, if A is greater than B, then it will see out the greater number is A. But we haven't told the compiler what if the B is greater than A. So in that case, we will give an else statement, else see out the greater number is B. Now let's try executing this program and see what happens. I give two numbers 4 and 5. Now the first number 4 will be saved to A variable and second number 5 will be saved to the B variable. So in this case, B is greater than A. Therefore, my answer will be the greater number is 5. In this case, the compiler has rejected this statement because if statement seems to be wrong. So after referring if the if statement is wrong, it has ignored this statement and the compiler control went right back to else and executed this statement. Let's try doing another number such as 6 and minus 3. Then the answer will be greater number is 6. In this case, the first number A is greater than B. Therefore, the if statement here is true. Therefore, this statement is executed and the else statement is ignored. Let's move on. Let's see a stack of if and else statement. In this program, let's see find a day. In this program, as you can see, the first if the int day, that is, we have declared a variable day and we are asking the person to enter some number such that if the person enters number 1, there will be the compiler will give an answer Monday. If this user gives number 7, the compiler will give an answer Sunday. So we want to write a program such that if the number is entered, the day corresponding to it will be executed. So in this case, we want to take a number as an entry. So we will declare that variable as day. So since it's a number, it's an integer, so we can declare it as int day. So we in this statement, we ask the compiler, ask the user to give a number and the user will enter a number. The entered number will be saved to the variable day. And if the entered number day equal to 1. Hope you remember this operator equal to. This is also a relational operator. This says that if day equal to 1, just that it's day equal to 1, then this statement will be executed. If the number entered was 1, then this statement will be executed. If the number entered wasn't 1, then the compiler will reject this statement and check if the number entered was true. Number entered was 2. If the number entered was 2, then this statement will be executed. If not, the statement control, the compiler control will directly jump to here and check if it is 3, if it is 4 or 5 or 6 or 7, and in all these cases you will get the corresponding answer. In the last statement, if the number is not 7 also, then the compiler have to give an answer such that the entered number doesn't is not in the range. If the user had entered a number 8, then the compiler cannot find a day corresponding to 8. So our program should give an output such as enter the correct number or enter the number within 1 to 7 or such that. For that we will use an else statement, which will be the last statement. Let's try compiling this. Can I copy paste the same because I don't want much time to be wasted on here. Hope you know how to type this. So the statement is done. It's ready to be executed. Let's do an error check. Oh, any problem? No errors. Okay, enter the number. I enter the number 5, and what I expect? I expect an answer Friday. Now, since I entered the number 5, the compiler will come to this line and check if the number entered was 1. And the compiler sees it was in 1. So it will reject this statement, come to this. Check if it's true, and it sees it's not 2. So it reject this statement and jump to here. Reject this statement because number entered was in 3. Jump to here, check if it's 4, reject this, and come here, check if it's 5, and it's fine that it is 5. So it execute this statement, and the other statements, other else statements, all these will be rejected. Let's try entering some other number, such as with 9, so that it doesn't belong to the range. Enter a correct number. That is, the statement, it had checked all the possibilities such as 1 to 7 and rejected this statement also, and came the control to else, the last statement, and executed this statement. Hope you are clear with that. Moving on, let's do another example, such as finding the largest value of any 3 numbers. Finding the largest value, not 2, sorry, finding the largest value of any 3 numbers, such that if you enter any 3 numbers, need not be integer, so I declare my data type as float so that I can enter decimal numbers also. And I have to find which among these 3 numbers are the largest. So for this also, I use a series of if-else statement. Let's check how to do it. I have given three numbers. The first number will be saved to the variable x, the second will be saved to the variable y, and the third will be saved to the variable z. And the first statement, if x greater than y, it will check if the first number is greater than the second number. Then it will enter into the loop if x is greater. And inside the loop, it will find another loop which asks if x is again greater than z. That is, if the first number is greater than y, it will again ask if the first number is also greater than the third number. And this statement also seems to be true. Then the largest number should be the first number. And in another case, inside x is greater than y loop, if x is not greater than z, then definitely z have to be the largest number. Here the first number is greater than the second number, but it is not greater than the third number. So the third number should be the largest one. And we will exit out of this statement and define an else if. Else if statement, that is, if x is not greater than y, that is, in this case second number is greater. So if the second number is greater, the compiler asks if the second number is greater than the first number, but if the second number is also greater than the third number. And if this statement turns out to be true, then the largest number have to be second, and if it is not, then the largest number have to be the third number. Hope you are clear with the algorithm. Let's try doing this. Here also, let me please copy paste. Yes, I don't want to waste much time here. Try doing this. I enter three numbers, say 5, 2 and 1. Here my first number is the greatest number. So my answer is largest value is 5. In this case, the compiler came to this statement and checked if the first number 5 was greater than the second number 2, and this statement turns out to be true. So it will enter into this loop, and in this loop it will find another if statement which asks if the first number 5 was greater than the third number 1, and this statement also comes out to be true, and it will execute this statement, and all other else if else statement will be rejected. In another case, if I provide say 1, 2, 3, here my third number is a greater number, so the largest value is 3. In this case, it will check if the first number was greater than the second, and in our case it wasn't. 1 is not greater than 2, so it will reject all the statements which comes inside this bracket, that is, this and this statement will be rejected, and the control will come to this statement and check if the second number is greater than the third number. And in this case, this statement is also false. So this statement of cout will be rejected and the control directly goes to the another else statement, and this statement will be executed. Hope you are clear. Let's move on. Another control statement other than if and if else is the switch statement. In switch statement, you will provide an expression. You will provide an expression and a lot of cases. This will check for a value among this is a possible. That is, if some value 1 is true, then the statements, then the case such that constant 1 will be executed. If 2 is the correct statement, then the statements, instructions which follows the case 2 will be executed, and every case statement is entered with a break instruction. We will see one example. This is the same example to find the day using switch statement. We have done it with if else statement. We will do it with switch statement. Here in the first line, it will ask the user to enter a number, and this number, if it is among 1 to 7, then we will get a corresponding answer. So if the user, say the user entered a number, let it be 5. The user entered a number 5, and this 5 will be saved to the variable day, and the switch is between the variable day. If case 1, that is if the entered number was 1, that is case 1, which ends with a colon, all the case statements ends with a colon, then this statement will be executed and it will break the control so that all the other statements can be rejected, including the default statement, and come to the final line. Since our entered number was 5, the switch will check where is 5. It won't go from here and here and here and here. Just like in if statement, the first statement was checked, and if it was wrong, then only it will go to the next statement. In this case, switch won't check every case. It will just look into what the exact case is. The switch will find the case 5 is right here. Only this will be executed and it will break and come to the last line. All the other statements will be rejected without a cross check. And this is the difference between the if statement and the switch statement. If statement will check every possibilities and come to the good answer, while switch statement will directly go to that answer. In switch statement, we can only have constant values or such as 1, 2, etc. We can't have a variable or a comparative value such as which one is greater, x or y is not possible. It will only check for that particular value which is entered, whether it is a string or a number. That particular data which is entered will be looking into, and all other data which is entered will be completely rejected. Let's try doing this. Let me copy paste this for a while so that I can save time. Run the program. There are no errors. So let's run the program. Say I entered a number 2. I entered a number 2. So the switch statement will check for the number 2, directly change its control to the case 2, execute whatever statement is inside the case 2, and will break the control and come to the last line. Here you have to ensure that all the case ends with a colon and not a semicolon. All the case will have a break statement which also ends with a semicolon. And the variable which comes inside the switch statement have to be already declared and have to be entered. And this is the variable for which the switch statement is running. The switch statement check for this particular variable, whether it's a number or a character. This particular variable will be in check. Let's move on. So far we have learned about control statements. That is, these statements will check whether a data entered or whether a statement is true or false, or whether this data is equal to some other data, and the program control will be passed on to that particular line only. In looping statements, if we want to repeat a set of statements or set of instructions a number of times, then we will use loop statements. There are while statements, for statements, etc. for loop. We will first learn about while statement. The while statement simply repeats the statement if the instruction or the expression given inside the parenthesis of while is true, and it will stop execution when the expression inside the while statement becomes false. The syntax for this is while and the expression. Here, while is the loop statement. If the expression inside the while is true, it will execute a set of statements and it will continue executing the statement until the expression becomes false. And we will give some instruction such that at some point this expression will become false, and so that the loop execution will stop. Another type of while is do while. In this case, this is similar to while, but the while statement is given after declaring a set of instructions, so that at least one time it will run. Here in the first case, if the expression seems to be false on the first place, then the entire statements will be rejected, ignored. But in this case, at least once these statements will be executed, and then it will check the while condition, and if the condition is false, then it will pass on the control to another session which follows the while. So do while will ensure that at least once the set of statement is executed. If you doesn't need that, then you will use a while statement. Let us look into an example. Find the sum of first 100 natural numbers. And this is what we are going to do. So in this case, I want the first sum natural numbers, first 100 natural numbers. So I have to add 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. up to 100. So in the first case, I declare my variable with initialization. I declare two variables, sum and digit. Sum is the one which I want to get as an output, and digit is the variable which I add to the sum in every loop. And if the digit is greater than if the digit is less than or equal to 100, this is an operator. This is a relational operator. Hope you remember. This is less than or equal to 100. Then this is a while statement. While inside, if the digit is less than or equal to 100, this set of instruction will run. And inside the statement, we have sum plus equal to digit. This is also an operator, which means that sum is equal to sum plus digit. We can also write it as sum equal to sum plus digit, but this is a shorthand. Sum equal to sum plus digit, and the digit will be added once. Let's try this. For example, if the sum is equal to 0. If the sum is equal to 0 and the digit is equal to 1, this while statement will execute. And here a variable digit will be added to sum. That is, the number 1 will be added to 0 and it will be saved to the variable sum, and the digit will be increased by 1. So in another loop, the while, now the digit is 2 and it is again less than 100, so that this loop will again execute. This will plus plus is an increment operator. Hope you remember. It will increase the value of the variable digit by 1. So in the next case it will be 2, in the next loop it will be 3, it will be 4. It will execute until the digit comes to 100. Let's try doing this. Now let me copy paste this also. There are no errors. So the first 100, the sum of first 100 number is 5050. Hope you are clear with the algorithm. Let's move on. Here we look into another program. Find the sum and average of given numbers. Let we give 5 numbers or 10 numbers, and we want the sum of that numbers and also average of that numbers. Here in this case, the program, we want to write a program such that the first program will ask the user how many numbers are there for you to take the sum or take the average. So the programmer will say I have 2 numbers, I have 3 numbers such that, and every number will be added and that sum will be saved into the variable sum, and after that the average will be calculated such that sum divided by number of numbers which is entered. Here in the first case, int n and I is equal to 0. N is provided such that the user can say I have n numbers which can be which is there to be executed, such that I wish to take the average of 3 numbers, then the number n have to be 3. This is given by the user. I is used for the iteration. For the iteration to be happening, we use the term I, and you will find I in the coming loop also. This is a variable which we use purely for iteration purposes. We have initialized it to 0 so that the iteration will start from 0, 1, 2, etc. In this line, float sum is equal to 0. We have said we have initialized the value sum. we have declared another two variables, a and av. Av used for average. A will be a variable which is used to take the numbers inside, which is a variable which is used to take the numbers inside. In the next statement, the program will ask the user how many numbers are there for you to calculate. And the programmer will give a number, say 3. In that case, the programmer is telling the program there are 3 numbers I wish to enter. Then a while statement will be executed. The while statement will be executed such that I is less than or equal to n. We have I initialized to 0. So here the 0 is less than or equal to 3, of course. Then this statement will run. And inside this statement, the cout will ask the programmer to enter a number. Enter the first number. Say he has entered a number and that number will be saved to the variable a. That number which is saved to the variable a will be added to the number which is saved in the variable sum. Here the number which is saved in the variable is sum itself, so that, and it will be saved again to the variable sum. So now the sum is the first number a, and we will increase the iteration to the level 2. Here I is increased, so the iteration is taken to another level. Now I is 1. Again it will check if I1 is less than or equal to the number entered, which is 3. This statement again come to true, and this loop will execute again and ask the compiler, ask the programmer to enter a number. And if again the programmer enters a number, and that will be again saved to the variable a, and that variable a will be added to the present sum. The present sum is the first number, and the second number will be added to the present number and will be saved to the variable sum. And again we go to the next iteration, where iteration I is increased to number 3, and it will check, number 2. It will again check if 2 is greater than 3. This process will continue, so that the next number will be added to the sum. Again the iteration is increased to 3. Here 3 is also equal to 1. This statement is also right. Again it will intake the fourth number and it will add to the sum. And now the variable sum is the sum of all the 4 numbers entered. So the sum, cout sum, will be the sum of all the 4 numbers entered. To take the average, the sum have to be divided by the number of variables which is entered, and that is again the number of variables entered is here. It have to be 4, and the average, which will give you an average of the number. Here in this case, if you enter I is initialized to 0, and you enter the numbers to be 3, then it will ask for 4 numbers. As you can see, I starts from 0, 0, 1, 2, 3. 4 iterations will happen. So either you have to initialize it as I is equal to 1, or initialize this statement have to be given as I less than 1 or I less than or equal to n minus 1, such that only 3 iteration will happen. There is a minor error right here. We will rectify it while we execute the program. So let's try executing this program. So this is our program. Since we have initialized I is equal to 0, either I have to give I is n minus 1 so that only n iterations will happen because it start counting from 0, and we will give only the number counting from 1. So either I have to give n less than or equal to n minus 1, or if then I have to give n I less than n. In this case also it will be right. So let me do it in this way so that when the I is equal to 2, it will stop execution. If I give a number 3 at I is equal to 2, this while loop will stop execution, so that I will have 3 iteration for I equal to 0, I equal to 1 and I equal to 2. Let's try doing this. Say I give 3 numbers, 2, 6 and 4. Oh, sorry. How many numbers? How many numbers? Say I have 3 numbers. Now enter the number. I say 5. Enter another number. I enter 2. Enter another number. I enter 6. And the sum is equal to 30, and average of these numbers is 4.333. I can enter my numbers as floating points also because the intake variable is a float. So let me have many numbers. Say I have 4 numbers, 3.26, 4 numbers are there. Sum is here and the average of the number can also be obtained. Hope you're clear with how a while loop works. Let's move on to the next looping statement, and that is 4. 4 is also another looping statement such as while, but inside the for loop we will give the initialization value. Remember, in the last program we have initialized the value I outside the loop. When we declare the variable I, we initialize the variable I is equal to 0 outside the while loop. But in the case of for loop, we initialize I inside the for loop. We will give the condition. So the condition for which the statements inside the while loop have to run, and also the increment statement such as I plus plus or I minus minus will also be given inside the for loop statement. Let's do an example. In this case, the same example of finding the sum and average using a for loop. Here, I need not declare my I right here itself because my I is declared here. This condition for which this for loop will run is given right here. Here listen, we have provided it as n minus 1 because I starts execution from 0 and the number we give here we count it from 1 and the computer count it from 0. So we want to make it go well with our counting system. So we take it as I will run until the increment becomes n minus 1. So, and the loop after every iteration, the I will be increased by a number 1. For example, the same example, I give a number 3 and the 3 will be saved to the variable n. And inside this statement, the for loop will start executing and check if 3 is greater than I. Here now the I is 0 and here 3 is greater than equal to I, and this statement is true and the for loop will start execution. It will ask to enter the number. A number will be entered and it will be saved to A and it will be added to the variable sum. The sum is here initialized to be 0. So it will be added to 0 and saved to the same variable sum. And again, here we doesn't have the increment statement. The increment statement is right here. The I will be increased by a number. So that now I is 1. And it will check whether I is greater than or less than n minus 1. And here, yes, I is less than n minus 1. And 1 is of course less than 2. And again the statement will be executed and increase the I by another number. And also now the I is 2. Again 2 is less than or equal to n minus 1, which is 2. So I is equal to n minus 1 right here. And this statement will execute once again and the I is increased to 3. And here it will check whether 3 is less than or equal to 2 and it find that this statement will go wrong. So the for loop will stop execution and the control will be passed to this line. And in this line it will calculate the average such as sum divided by the number of numbers entered, and it will give as the output the sum is the sum which is saved inside the variable and average is the number which is saved inside the variable AV. Let's try execute the same program using the for loop. We are ready. Let's give it an error check. There are no errors. So how many numbers? I say I have 3 numbers. And enter the first number. That will be, because I can enter floating point numbers because I have declared A to be a float. Enter the next number. Now this 2.36 is added to the sum which is equal to 0 and now the sum is 2.36. Now again I add a number 3. So that now the sum is 5.36. Again I add a number 2. So that now the sum is 7.36 and which is given as an output. And also to find the average, the sum which is 7.36 will be divided by 3. 3 is the number of numbers which we have entered and the answer is 2.45333. Hope you are clear with the difference of the while loop and the for loop. We will do this for different program purposes. The last in the control statement is the jump statement. I have already told you that the jump statement are used so that I can jump to another line inside my source file by ignoring all other steps which have to be executed before that. I can use this jump statement to jump from one point of the source file to another point by ignoring all other steps which is mentioned before or after that. The first jump statement we will learn is a break statement. Break statement will leave the loop. Will leave the loop there, and even if the condition, even if the loop condition, that is such that I is less than or equal to n. Let's say if I is less than or equal to n is still true, and if the compiler will come across the statement break, then it will break the loop even if the condition is true. It will break the loop and jump into the last statement. It can be used to end an infinite loop or force to end a loop before it naturally ends. And the syntax is break followed by a colon. We have seen this in the switch statement. Hope you remember. After every case, we will give it a break so that it will stop executing right there, and all other case statement will be rejected. And there we used the jump statement break. Identify the negative valued data. We will try numbers. We will try a program such that when a negative valued number is entered, the program will stop its execution. Okay, in this case, I have used a while loop. A while loop such that I is less than or equal to 10. Okay, now the I is ready to take up 10 numbers, 10 entries. But I is ready to take up not just 10, it is ready to take up 11 entries. Say, because I have declared I is equal to 0, it is ready to take 10 plus 1, 11 entries. And I start entering my number. Okay, since I start entering in my number, I enter my first number. It will be taken to the cin and check if n is less than or equal to 0. That is, if n is a positive number, if n is a negative number, n is less than or equal to 0 will be checked such that n is a negative number or not. Then if n seems to be a negative number, this if loop will be executed, and the if loop will say that either 0 or negative number is found, and it will break the statement. If the entered number is not negative, then this statement comes to be false, and all the statement inside will be ignored, and the iteration number will go to the next, and this loop will be again executed. This loop will continue execution until it finds a negative or a 0 number. Let's try doing this. Now it's ready. Now my program is ready to check whether entering 11 numbers are ready to be checked, and these 11 numbers will be checked for whether it is 0 or a negative number. Let me enter my first number 1, the second number, the third number, fourth number, fifth, sixth, seventh, 8th, 9, 10, and at 11 number it will stop its execution. Okay, see if I have entered a number which is negative in between. Say I have entering my number and I enter a negative number in between. It will give a statement 0 or negative number is found, and it will stop execution right here. See, the while loop is still true. While loop is still true, and it is ready to take another set of numbers. I have only entered 5 numbers, so it is ready to take another 6 entries. But since it have executed, since it came across the break statement, it will break the loop even if the while statement remains true, and it will come to the break statement if it will execute this line and it breaks and come to the last line. Hope you're clear with this. I hope it will be more clear since we move on to our next breaking statement, next jump statement. Our next jump statement is continue. Here, same as breaking statement, it will when it come across continue, what it will do is it will let you know that you have came across some zero or negative number. Then it will ignore that. It will ignore and continue running the program until the while loop seems to hold true. That is, in the same case, if we replace the break with a continue, break statement is replaced with a continue, let's see what will happen. I have replaced my break statement with continue, and I start giving numbers. And I given a negative number here. It will give a statement of 0 negative number is found, but again it will allow me to enter numbers. If I enter again a negative number, it will give me a warning that a negative number is entered, but it will again give me a chance to enter more numbers until the while statement remains true. So it have taken up 11 entries right here and ignored the 2 negative numbers. It have allowed me to give 11 positive entries and my negative entries are ignored. If it was a break statement, it will break right here and it won't give me a chance to check another numbers. Since it's a continue loop, it will ignore this number and continue afterwards. Hope you're clear with the difference between the break statement and the continue statement. Now we will go to a last statement in the jump, and that is goto statement. This is used to give the control to another line without breaking or continuing. Such that let me say that I am in line 3. My compiler is executing the instruction in line 3 and it come across goto. Goto will be given with a variable name to which the control have to go to. And say if the variable name given is at the 15th line, then it will ignore all the steps which have to be done with before 3 and 15, and the control will directly go to the 15th statement. All other statements in between will be ignored. There are 2 types of jumps, that are conditional jumps and unconditional jumps. Conditional jump is when you come across a variable, it will jump unconditionally. And conditional jumps, it will jump unconditionally without checking any probabilities. In conditional jump, it will check, says that if we have given 3 numbers, we have to check whether which is the largest number. We will check using it a conditional goto statement. If A, we will give 2 numbers which will be saved to A and B. If A greater than B, it will go to output 1, which is a this is a go to output 1, and we have already declared output 1 right here. This will be executed. If A is greater than B, the compiler will come across goto statement, and it will reject all other statement in between, and it will directly come to output 1. And if this statement seems to be false, that is A greater than B seems to be false, it will come to else, and the compiler will come across go to output 2. And in this case also, it will go to output 2 and execute what is written here. Here we have another statement, go to stop. The stop here is an unconditional go to, because there is no if or a conditional checking such as switch. If we come across some switch or if cases, then it is a conditional go to. If we doesn't come across such a conditional statement, then it is an unconditional go to. We will try running both of these programs. We'll try doing this. Now the start here is a statement to which the control will go. Okay, now what will happen? Let's say we will find an error right here, I think. Yeah, I have an error here. Let me check and see out. Oh, send is not declared. Okay, it is. It have to be inside the inputs, then only it will execute. Now it's clear. So the compiler will come to start. Since it ends with a colon, the compiler doesn't run this. It will go to here, St. Xavier's College cout, and it will go to start. Go to start is again it will come here. Let's see what happens. If I compile this program, it will continue. It will continue until I give a stop statement, such that here it will come and execute St. Xavier's College. Okay, and it will encounter a statement go to start. Again it will go to start and execute the program St. Xavier's College. Again it will come to go to. Again it will go to start and execute the same program. So this program will continue forever. So this is a condition for an unconditional jump. This is an unconditional jump and then unconditional go to. I have given no option for the processor to check whether I have to go to start or not. We will make it clear in the next program. In the next program, we will check whether any of those numbers are true or false. Now remember, I can give this output colon or output 2 colon either in the beginning or in the end, and it will doesn't matter because go to can jump forward or backward. It doesn't matter. Now I have given two numbers, and these two numbers will be saved in the order A and B in the variables which is already declared. And it will check if A is greater than B. Then the control, if A is greater than B, the control will go to this line and this statement will be executed, and it will make an unconditional jump to stop, that is right here. After stop you will see return 0, that the program ends. If this statement is false, it will ignore this statement and come to else. It will go to output 2. Now the variable, the pointer is gone to output 2, and in output 2 it will execute this program and make an unconditional jump to 0, unconditional jump to stop. Here I have given the compiler chance to check whether to jump or not. In the last case, I haven't given the compiler a chance to determine whether to jump or not. So it was an unconditional go to. Here, since I give the compiler a chance to determine whether to jump to output 1 or output 2, this is a conditional jump. Let's try, compile the program. Enter two numbers, say 5 and 6, and the largest value is 6. I have entered. My second number is the largest number, that is B is the largest number. So if statement will come false, so this is ignored, it will come to else, and this statement will be executed. This statement asks the compiler to go to output 2. So this will be rejected, this will be ignored, and the compiler will come to the statement output 2. And inside the output 2, the compiler will come across the statement the largest number is B. And after executing, it will again come across a goto, which is an unconditional jump, which asks the compiler to go to stop, which is right here. So after the stop, it will end. Hope you are clear with the conditional statements or the control statements. These are the control statements which we have to learn. So in today's video, we have learned about control statements. Control statements are used to control the flow of the program. There are conditional statements such as if, else, or switch, which will execute a set of statements only if the condition given is true or false. There are loop statements such as while, do while, or for. This will execute a set of statements a number of times until the condition inside the loop becomes false. There are jump statements which will allow the compiler to jump from one program, one set of statement to another without executing the statements which is between those jump statements. Hope you are clear with all the control statements. Control statements in C++ is a very important portion and which you have to give utmost importance when you run a program and also when you prepare for your exams. See you in next video. Thank you.